spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I can go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I can go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. More specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. And this episode is the Commanders draft recap, the very first draft post-Snyder era. A lot of people think we hit it out of the park. A lot of people go, hey, did we do enough on the offensive line? We're going to get into all of it. But first things first, if you enjoy today's episode, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, and K-Dot?
Yeah, I just need to tell everybody, look, this is a very, very important part of the show, okay? This particular part right now. I actually want you to take it. After I give you the instructions on what you need to do, I actually want you to pause this video, pause the Spotify, whatever it is you're listening to, you need to pause it in just a moment, okay? Because it is time to let the world know what you're doing, to let the world know that you are listening to the audio art, the best goddamn podcast in the world, the best Commanders podcast in the world by far. No shade, but I mean, come on. All right? So it's 3 words. You ready for it? It's share this shit. You got to share it, baby. You got to share our shit. Share this shit. All right?
That's perfect. It's perfect. Share this shit. We greatly appreciate you guys. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So the Washington Commanders, again, had 9 picks in the NFL draft. And we are about to go through them right now real quick, and then we'll see it as a whole. Beginning, of course, round 1, pick 2, the highly anticipated pick of the draft, Jayden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU. We then go to the second round, where we had 3 second-round picks, beginning with Johnny Newton at pick 36, defensive tackle out of Illinois. Then we go to Mike Sainristil, slot corner specifically, out of Michigan, and Ben Sinnott, not Sinnott, Sinnott, tight end out of Kansas State. Then we go to the third round, where we have Brandon Coleman. We finally address the offensive line, guard/tackle out of TCU. And then we get a McCaffrey, Christian, of course, already in San Francisco. How about Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver out of Rice with pick 100 overall? We go to Temple, where we get a linebacker named Jordan Magee, one team captain amongst many others that we drafted. And then Dominique Hampton, safety out of Washington, played in the college football semifinal, had an impact. College football final had an impact. And then we go to our very last pick in the 7th round, Javontae Jean-Baptiste, who probably has the best name of the lot. And that is your draft class. If we were to look at it as a whole, there are 9 picks in total. You're going to get a quick screen over here. Shout out K-Dot, by the way. This is the very first time we are using this new software, and he's already killing it. No, you're killing it. You're killing it. Cool. Look at that. Look at that. Jayden Daniels, Johnny Newton, Mike Sainristil, Ben Sinnott, Brandon Coleman, Luke McCaffrey, Jordan Magee, Dominique Hampton, Javontae Jean-Baptiste. And that's the draft class. And that's the draft class. So now we go over, and we got to ask the question. And we would love to hear from you guys in the comment mailbag for the next episode. But K-Dot, I ask you first. Which of these picks was your favorite?
So, I mean, I think that by default, kind of the one that anybody's going to remember when this is all over, of course, is Jayden Daniels.
Obviously.
It did make me feel good knowing that word is on the street that it was always kind of down between Jayden and JJ, that they thought about it.
Time was right.
Which is cool. But I like where JJ ended up. You watched the live show, you know I'm very happy with JJ ended up. I'm really excited about Jayden Daniels. We've talked about it ad nauseum. I'm sure you're about to talk about it a little bit more. But yeah, my favorite pick is a dude that's been on every single mock draft that I've done. Even the mock draft that you guys have every right to shame us for what it is we did with the 2 tight ends. But my favorite pick is one particular tight end, and that's Ben Sinnott. Sinnott.
There you go. Got it.
Got to make sure we get that right.
We're getting you guys there early because we've been saying Sinnott. We'll be honest. We were saying Sinnott entering the draft.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, that's the thing is like even when you start looking at some of the highlights or something for some of these guys or some of the interviews, you start realizing some people are pronouncing it differently any fucking way. So it's like, right. So until I hear the guy like at the podium like, hey, this is how you say it.
Can't wait for him to go. It's actually Sinnott after me telling you.
Fucking hilarious. Or no, the S's of science is just Siat. Like the N's are silent, guys. It's Siat. Weirder things have happened. Yeah, this dude has been my overall favorite tight end. I know everybody was really, really high about Jatavion Sanders, which
Right.
I get it. You look at some of the highlights and everything, but this dude is just all around just a damn good player. Great blocker. Really good blocker. You hear them talk about having him like H-back kind of move it around. I know we were talking pre-episode where the Adam Peters, that they kind of remind him of Kyle Juszczyk out in San Francisco, and you know the totally amount of things that they can do with that dude. I think the closest you can look at to the guy that we've had that has been like him will probably be a Chris Cooley type, which definitely Joe Gibbs referred to Chris Cooley as more of that H-back type of a player, right? So like, I just think what he's able to do as far as his versatility for us, and he had very, very sure hands. This is a dude that can run up the seams and run to certain things in the middle when nobody else really wants to catch the ball. He might not look the most coordinated at times doing it, but he makes the damn plays. And he's also so much fun. And beyond all of those things, the man is a goddamn dog. Now, if you haven't seen this yet, I can't wait to play it for you and also get to show off that we can do this shit now. But Ben was also, he played high school hockey, and he led the team in two things: goals and penalty minutes. You'll see why. Look at this.
And shout out Ben Sinnott.
Boom! Let's
my Lord. When I first saw this, I thought it was illegal, K-Dot.
Oh! Probably should be.
Yeah.
Boom!
Oh, my Lord. Yeah, those are the penalty minutes that you were talking about, right?
You know, I heard that it was illegal, but the refs were scared of him, so they weren't going to do anything to him in that particular game, you know? So, like, that's what I'm saying. That's my guy. And the thing is, I understand I know it's not on the sheet of things to discuss, but I'm sure we have to touch on at least some point the offensive tackle when we talk about Brandon Coleman or lack of doing it or whatever. But I love the Sinnott pick, and I think the rest of us, all of you, will love it if you're not on board just yet.
Yeah. And so, you know, the first 3-4 picks, how could you not love them? Right. So Jayden Daniels, whomever you wanted to be the quarterback, like it's an exciting pick nonetheless. Now K-Dot has referred to him as the biggest boom or bust player. Others will have the rose tinted glasses like I will and be like, oh, it just has to work. And others will go, man, I really wanted Drake May. I really wanted JJ McCarthy, but nonetheless, you cannot deny the injection of electricity and juice that pick gives the franchise. So speaks for itself. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about Jayden. Just a couple quick things on him, of course. Talk about the work ethic. They had mentioned him getting receivers in with him in the building at 5 a.m. to work out together. He works with VR or, you know, and just gets his reps that way sometimes. Yep. And teammates love him. You know, we always talk about wanting our guy to be someone people gravitate towards. It seems like he's going to be that type of player. So we'll see how it all turns out. Again, we'll have plenty of time to talk about Jayden Daniels. Obviously my favorite pick, but besides him, maybe a bit of a cop-out. Let me go with the next guy who really should have been a first-rounder. Johnny Newton.
I totally forgot to change the topic.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. As we said, this is our first time. In fact, once you didn't, I was like, don't change the topic. Anyway, so
I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, maybe I should just keep it there.
Listen, but Johnny Newton, K-Dot, I don't know how much reading you did on the guy after. I saw him going in, so like, you know, Penn State fan. And so I watched him against Penn State. And it was like, this guy's a good player, but it's hard to know just how good defensive tackles are. They don't always just pop out on film. This guy does. How about consensus first team All-American? How about never coming off the field? 749 snaps, first in the nation amongst defensive tackles. Yep. And oh, by the way, second half of the season, did it with a Jones fracture. Okay, so that is a, you know, I think pinky toe foot fracture or something like that. So he's still producing, and he produced in the second half of the season. Also blocked 4 kicks.
Come back to this one.
Blocked 4 kicks. So now I'm thinking special teams. Okay, maybe we can block an extra point. Maybe we can block a field goal. Maybe if Deron Payne gets hurt, I feel much more okay. Maybe if Jonathan Allen gets hurt, I feel much more okay. This guy, by all accounts, is a baller. I have no idea why he fell to 36, and I know we're going to talk about Brandon Coleman and addressing the offensive line where to from here. But do not blame the Commanders one bit for going best player available in this situation, because my God, this guy can play. Instant impact player. Favorite pick, K-Dot.
It wasn't close. Like on PFF's big board, he was like 11th, just outside of most people's like top 10.
Yeah.
The value on that alone. And look, we've talked, even one of the reasons I dislike the Chase Young, Montez Sweat, getting rid of those guys, is when I look around the NFL and I look at those teams that are usually elite, right? Especially the ones that don't necessarily have the elite quarterback yet. You can point to one unit on the team being like, that's probably the best in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You could look at like San Francisco, like linebackers at certain points of time, so the defensive line at a certain point, probably defensive line now. But right now, what you have with the free agent pickups that we made, adding this dude to a rotation with Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen is a fucking problem for people.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a chance, if you look at the tape and you look as far as like when the guys are coming out, I say Newton might actually be the most technically gifted out of the three. Like the idea that you're adding that to this group. Then you look at Dan Quinn and what he was doing in Dallas, led the league in stunts, led the league in doing all sorts of disruptive shit on the defensive line. The idea that any of those free agents that we pick up are rotating out there on the side, you potentially have a situation where you have all three of our guys lined up. A Jamin Davis, nobody knows where the fuck he's going to be on the field, right?
Yep.
It's just a problem. Like, I think that's the thing, is like the choosing our favorite pick is so hard. Because, I mean, if I'm being completely honest, all the way through until you get to probably Jordan Magee, I adore these dudes. I adore them. Like,
and I love Jordan Magee, by the way, from what I've read. Like,
I've fallen in love with him now. Yeah. I'm talking about like love at first sight. Just heard the name, already know who this guy is. Fuck yeah, bring him to DC. I was good with everybody. I can say so many positive things about each one of these guys, and that defense, I'm just getting chills, man. Like I told you, the hard part right now is the hope.
Yep.
As the hope starts to seep in, it's Houston did it with CJ Stroud. Maybe we could do it too. Like that shit starts.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, I gotta tell you, K-Dot, like one of the, well, okay, I'll just let people in behind the curtain a little bit. I got hammered on Friday night, and at 1:30 a.m. got an Uber home, and I sent K-Dot a screenshot of what I was doing, and I was re-listening to Joe Witt Jr.'s intro press conference. Like that is where my drunk brain is at now, is re-listening to him, and I was sobering up listening to him. I was getting fired up all over again, because then there's Mike Sainristil, who talked to Matt Regan. He's a Michigan guy, and so asked him, hey, what can you tell us about him? He's like, he is an absolute dog. Beast. Okay, beast. Slot corner, shuts people down. Like, he can instantly insert himself in. A lot of people gave that grade an A+. If you listen to people, draft experts, this is exciting. This defensive line is now very exciting. We, of course, signed Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler Jr., Cleveland Farrell, and to Ben Robinson's point, author of grindingthebox.com, shout out to him for another successful year. You can never have too many defensive linemen. Right. And that is what Adam Peters said when talking about that pick. He's like, look, couldn't believe he was there, and you can never have too many of these guys. So now we're bringing that San Francisco mold over here to DC. Absolutely loved that pick. Any final thoughts before we talk about the offensive line? Because we'll get into Brandon Coleman here in just a moment.
Yeah, I think just quickly on two of the picks would be the well, I guess we'll talk about Brandon Coleman in a sec. But Mike Sainristil, best defensive player on the best defense in the country. Was the guy who got everyone lined up on the defense. Was the dude that did, like, what? And like dude, it's going to, on paper, once again, we got to see them, running the ball against us should be a problem. Yeah. He's Jeremy Chin around the line of scrimmage, just kind of creeping around. Bobby Wagner putting everybody in positions so they don't have to necessarily think. And that dude playing fucking slot, where like he sees the running back with the goddamn ball, he can just say go. Oh,
it's fun. And I will say, obviously, the best time of year. Like ideally, it's going to be January's and February's for us. That's what we're gearing towards. Right. But for the time being, it is April and May. And the other last thing I like about Johnny Newton, the conditioning, right? We had mentioned that he was first in snaps amongst defensive tackles. Tough because he's playing through injury as well. Which for college, you don't necessarily have to. He could have put bad film on. Maybe that's why he slipped, actually, right? Maybe that's why he slipped in the second round, right? Because of that. Here's the thing. When you have a guy that is that talented, and that many people agree, there's something to it. And being able to rotate him in and give our other guys, certified ballers, and Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen a breather is huge. And you can rely on Johnny Newton to not get that tired himself. It is a different level, the NFL. And nothing's guaranteed, as we know. Plenty of first rounders become busts.
Yep.
But by all accounts, based on his work ethic, you don't have any questions there. He was a captain. Don't have any questions there. And he's tough. You don't have any questions there. But let's go ahead and talk about the offensive line, K-Dot. So Brandon Coleman taken round 3, pick 67. So after we take these defensive studs and Ben Sinnott, and of course Jayden Daniels, hey, it's a pretty sore need, as we knew entering the draft, for offensive linemen. Now we do take Brandon Coleman out of TCU, guard tackle combo. Adam Peters said that he sees him as a tackle moving forward. He played more guard than tackle in college. What'd you make of that pick? Was it enough to satisfy you?
For now, but I think that there just comes with the reality of it, right? So like on my draft board, when I was looking, there were only 3 guys that I really looked at as far as guys that I would start day one and never look back. And whether or not they end up being bust or whatever, just kind of plays it out. And that was Alt, Fashanu, and Guyton. Oh no, sorry, not even Guyton. JC Latham.
Yes.
That was it. Those were the 3. Beyond those 3, I looked at everybody else as basically a project in one of those, like, okay, but that's the other thing. I don't even know what it is that they're looking for at offensive line for this particular team, because I don't know what the offense is yet. So, like, I don't know what they're looking at as far as athleticism compared to big bruiser type, whatever. I'm not sure. The only 2 guys that were on our boards there around 36 to 40 that were still available were Patrick Paul and Roger Rosengarten, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But when you had Newton fall in your lap, it changes things, and it should. Like there is one thing to. I get there's always a balance between best player available and your need. But when the value exists and the ability to put yourself in the conversation of having potentially the best defensive line in the league, you take it. So the thing with Brandon Coleman I look at is that the dude has some really raw, natural gift. Like you see from an athletic score standpoint, it's off the charts. His athleticism is just off the charts. He's also got a lot of good reach. Like his arm length is really, really fucking good. I think that he definitely is going to be somebody that's a development player, but I looked at everybody, like I said, other than those 3 dudes, as developmental players. And I know me and you have been on the same page. We want Marcus Mariota to start. Yep. And I don't mind a few weeks of Cornelius Lucas until the young kid gets better. Like I'm okay with it, because I also look around the league as far as like what it is that they need to do in free agency necessarily. And the thing is, once a team got a good left tackle, you're not letting that motherfucker go until he's too old to really produce.
Right. And so it's got to also be said. So actually, if I may, let me take a step back, because I think I learned something this draft, and I tweeted it from the District Divided account. Follow us on Twitter, X at District Divided. Now having an adult in the room thank you. Now having an adult in the room in Adam Peters, I view the offseason slightly differently. So free agency, we talk about supplementing the roster, right? You could probably look for needs and go, okay, so what Adam Peters did was he looked not necessarily at positions, he did, but he looked at characteristics. We need leaders. We need a culture. We need to establish a team identity. That's your Bobby Wagner. That's your Zach Ertz. That's your Austin Eckler. Those are your veterans, and those are 1-year, 2-year deals, right?
Yep.
We're going to get young ascending players that our new coaching staff trusts. That's Tyler Biotish. That's Dorrance Armstrong, right? Dante Fowler also comes from there. Cool. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The draft to me is now all about best player available. Get as many of them as possible, and maybe 1 or 2 for need where you can reach because you really need it, right? That to me is what the Brandon Coleman pick sort of was. Because when I look at average draft position from mock drafts, it was looking around the 100, but they couldn't risk it. Right. So that's why they went round 3, pick 67, because all those tackles and guards were coming off the board. So be it. But the rest, I think, are best player available. And I think it's awesome because there's then post-draft free agency. We are now entering that wave. Mm-hmm. Do we pick up a Donovan Smith? Do we pick up a Michael Penix? Do we pick up a David Bakhtiari? Maybe. But now we get to also assess, now that we've picked up all the best players available, if you will, these are the foundational pieces you build through the draft. Yep. What do we want to do? We're entering the 3rd layer of the offseason. So just seeing those segments of the offseason, it is starting to click for me. And I'm so thankful we have adults in the room. What do you make of that, Kate, that idea?
I think that I still think it's a balance, but no, I definitely would say that regardless, my opinion has always been a lot more heavily skewed towards best player available than you get drafted for need. I think when you do that, this league is built, the teams that really become special are the ones that have special players. And the only way you can get these special players is say, fuck it, and just take chances to go get these dudes if you think that they're talented enough. We have a team that we're not entirely sure. We think it's more talented than we saw on the field last year. No doubt. Especially like offensive. I even looked at the offensive line to say that that's the case when you had an Eric Bieniemy able to drop back as many goddamn times as he wanted to. And you had a Sam Howell. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to quickly add, remember when Jacoby Brissett came in? It looked fine. Just saying.
Look, no doubt the offensive line needs work. And I would say that that is a process in which you need to retool and you need to get better at. But I think that they've addressed some of it with some of the free agencies, with some of the guys that they have in free agency. And also, I think a lot of what made the offensive line look as bad as it was a lot of play calling and Sam Howell not throwing the ball when he needed to throw the ball, kind of walking into shit that he didn't need to walk into. Kind of the thing was, the more I think about it, the more it sounds like Drake May. I guess he's just in that UNC. Like it's just. Maybe it's just part of it. But
that's why New England, if they're smart, will sit him for a year.
They got the best backup in the league. They better fucking do it, guys. Yeah. I think it should always skew towards best player available. And the thing that works out so well for me is that the only thing that I would understand as far as from a criticism, I'm not listening to the quarterback shit anymore. I've moved on. I was completely cool with any of the guys that they got. We're done. I'm done with that conversation now. I can understand the thought process between the Newton and going to get a tackle. I get that.
Yeah.
I do not agree that they should have moved up to get rid of the draft capital they had to move up to go get someone.
Excellent point.
That run that happened on those tackles would have cost a lot. And I like the guys that they picked up. I really do. And I think that they could all be key contributors to a winning team. I'm not trading that for someone who, if they weren't one of the top 3, was to me a developmental guy fucking anyway. They might be more talented than Brandon Coleman, no doubt, but it's a development anyway, any way you work at it. And what I do appreciate is a coaching staff that I've talked about this wants to teach and coach and make these guys better. And as long as the play calling is not as abysmal as it was last year, it's only going to look better as far as the offensive line. You got to remember, the offensive line, even the season before that, we looked at the PFF rankings and we're like,
it was good.
So, like, I get it. I understand. It's something we all circled as far as the need. We did too.
Yeah.
But I think if I'm looking at it, they addressed it the best possible way they could without leveraging too much to do it.
Yeah. Excellent point. And also, with this being the first draft, I'm glad they kept all 9 picks.
Right.
Because this, with the leadership that they built through free agency and through what we already have with Terry, with John Allen, etc., you have the opportunity to make an impression on as many rookies as possible to build the culture even more. So it makes sense. Quantity does matter here. And they found quality via best player available. Quick shout out to Luke McCaffrey, by the way.
I do want to talk about him for a second.
Yeah, please do, because oh my goodness. The more I read about him, the more he tested really well. He was He's tied for contested catches in college football. Sorry, I guess I'm talking about it because I'm excited. With Roma Dunze. He's also faster in short spaces and acceleration than Roma Dunze. Not calling him Rome by any means. That guy is also very special, clearly. But Luke has also only been playing wide receiver for a short amount of time. And you know the family legacy. And Ed McCaffrey was a wide receiver, their dad. I know Christian plays running back. He also had a really nice running back highlight with Nebraska. Go ahead, K-Dot. You talk.
No, look at Christian. Who's the best receiving running back in the league?
Yeah.
And his brother, Max, played for the DC Defenders. At least he was here for a little bit. So cool. Luke McCaffrey, there's one thing all right, so I will say that it's a little overrated, but there's one thing I always love hearing a wide receiver or a tight end have played. And I want you to tell me what all these guys have in common. Hines Ward, Julian Edelman, Antoine Randall, Anquan Bolden.
I think they block like motherfuckers.
They all play quarterback.
That is true. I did not think about that. Okay.
I love a receiver that is. Yep. I love a receiver that played quarterback. Why? They end up being, if you look at that list, that is your safety valve because they understand what a quarterback is going through. And they know, chief in point, because they can put their mind within the mind of a quarterback. I need to move back to the football. I need to get this sort of separation of this sort of space. I need to do this. I need to do that. And when you're talking about a dude working from the slot position, like your Edelmans and stuff kind of do, that is so key. The combination of Luke McCaffrey and Ben Sinnott to help Jayden Daniels in the middle of the field is going to be so fucking crucial to me. Like it's nuts. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm just laughing because I saw something on Twitter where someone asked, "Hey, Adam Peters, what are we going to draft today on day 2?" And it's a photo of the premium crackers section.
Yeah, we got our white skills, guys. All right, look, we've reached our peak. This is it. We're done.
It was funny, man.
But dude, I am stoked. Luke McCaffrey has been. The thing is, he's only been playing receiver for 2 years, and he's ascending each year. I think what was the number on the drops or something he had in the course of last year? I think it was like none. Like in the 71.2% of the ball.
He's an athlete. Don't get confused. I know we were talking about Cooper DeJean and the white corner being extinct and stuff like that. This guy's a fucking athlete. Like, he is really good.
You want to question the McCaffreys on being athletes?
I'm curious to see what his draft stock would have been. I'm not saying round 1, pick 1, just to be clear. But, like, you know, there were a ton of wide receivers that got taken, right? Mm-hmm. I wonder if Luke played it for 3 years, 4 years, something like that, or played it growing up a lot more, where it would be. I think he's still sort of discovering, right? We talk about the coaches and them wanting to teach and develop. Let's see what happens here. There's every reason for excitement. It could fail, but every reason for excitement.
I don't think there's any chance of failure if you know what you're getting from this dude. Because I also think the most important thing to me, what I think is getting overlooked a ton, is special teams ability. And that dude becomes a very, very key component for Larry Izzo and our new special teams coach and what it is they're doing there. I think that's fucking phenomenal. Yeah, Luke McCaffrey's a dude that I was high on. I showed you my draft board, my draft wish list. And at that pick, there were 3 wide receivers I really, really liked. It was him. It was Malik Washington, I think his name was. And
Brendan Rice also.
Brendan Rice. Yeah. All 3 of them, I would have been completely cool with it. But Luke, we talked about this on the draft show a little bit. When I was saying that when we were talking about Jayden Daniels and there's a chance that, like, has this guy peaked in college? Can I get any more juice out of him? Luke McCaffrey's totally not a guy that's peaked yet. Like, you can clearly see with each game he plays, he's getting better. He doesn't know where his ceiling is. And you're talking about a coachable dude that's the Luke McCaffrey pick might be my favorite. It's like, this is
the more you talk about it, right? Like, it is very exciting. This is a very exciting draft class. I am very curious to see how this pans out. Want to quickly touch on the undrafted free agents because we did pick up a few of those. Of course, most notably, heartthrob Sam Hartman, who everyone was talking about. There's that one clip of Chris Carter even at the NFL Combine, and he's like, that man is just the most gorgeous guy over here. Like, he literally just starts talking about how good looking the guy is. Quarterback out of Notre Dame. Just want to quickly
if you want to know what I feel about Sam Hartman, just
I mean,
that's my guy.
Listen, it's the elephant in the room. We're just going to quickly mention that.
He's a beautiful man.
The connection, though, there is a connection here. So he and Jayden Daniels worked out together during this draft process as well. So there is already some chemistry there, which is very good. Shout out Adam Peters for not fucking drafting a quarterback in the 4th round of the same one where we get a quarterback pick 2 overall. Really appreciate that. Feels like already a better quarterback room than what RG3 had instantly. Appreciate it. So that's Sam Hartman. And then there was
I'll pull up the full list.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Because there was one corner from Colorado State that, Chigozie, I know CM, and apologies if I butchered the name. Quickly going through it, Sam Hartman, Austin Jones, AJ Woods, Norrell Pollard, Tyler Owens, and I just mentioned Chigozie over there. Michael Wiley, Bo Bauer, Ben Nickel, Marcus. Is that Rosemy Jackson? Oh, that's right. Though, yes, he had a couple really nice catches for Georgia. Mm-hmm. And then David. Yeah, we're just going to go with David with that one. I apologize for not even trying that one. We'll see what happens with them. Typically with undrafted free agents, actually, quick point on undrafted free agents. Typically, they don't make the team. However, sometimes people intentionally don't draft somebody in the 7th round because it allows them to be able to give them higher signing bonuses and let them know the priority level for them. There is such a thing as priority undrafted free agents. The Colorado State corner, Chigozie, I think is one of those because he got one of the highest signing bonuses. Sam Hartman also got a pretty high signing bonus as well as a strong base salary. So it seems like that they're either going to be practice squad players or that's how we see them. Or maybe even make the 53. Who knows? What do you make of that list, Kate?
It was a $20,000 sign-up bonus, I think, for each of them, and $225,000.
Chigozie maybe got 30.
It might have been a little more. Those dude, and that was a dude. The corner was somebody that everyone around the league apparently really, really wanted. So they wanted to make sure that the offer to him was going to be something that just squashed everything else. Yeah. I don't think you don't pay that money. And what you also don't do is have the media kind of run with it, because I don't remember the last time that you have a lot of undrafted free agents got talked about in the sense of the way that they are right now. Mm-hmm. They are in the plans. I'd be looking at Sam Hartman. Now, look, if you watch his Senior Bowl stuff, some other things, there's some room for improvement, no doubt.
There is a reason. Let's be real. Yeah.
Definitely some room for improvement, but how you gonna bet against a face like that, man? How you gonna bet against a dude that looks like...
You were having too much fun with this, man.
You ever seen the movie Moneyball?
Of course.
I have to add.
Of course.
Don't say of course. Don't you ever say of course.
Okay, that's a good point. That is a good counterpoint. For those that are maybe new to this channel and still here, which we appreciate, I have seen no movies. Yeah. Literally no movies.
But when you're talking about all the old school guys are there. Have you seen his girlfriend? like I know what Sam can pull. That motherfucker can pull some shit. And maybe he's Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll take a Jimmy Garoppolo backup any day of the fucking week, maybe.
Yeah, he's probably the most notable. It's also a quarterback undrafted free agent signing as well. So those are always going to stand out whenever it's such a quarterback centric league, like we've talked about. And Kid, I know your feelings on that as well. Is the position potentially overvalued? A little bit. And we have the entire offseason. We can come up with all sorts of episodes there. But those are the undrafted free agents. Why don't we go ahead and talk about other stuff that happened around the league? Because there were 31 other teams. Very nice transition, by the way. 31 other teams that participated in this NFL draft and made some awesome picks, some interesting picks. Where do you want to go with this, Kate? The floor is yours.
There are teams that are just doing the same. Like anytime I see like the Lions and what they do, I'm like, all right, good job. Anytime I see the Eagles, as much as I hate it, I say good job. Anytime I see the Ravens, I'm like, you're fucking murdering this.
Yeah.
What like TJ Tampa and like picks? I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
They're loaded again. They're loaded again.
Ridiculous. Should I do love living ball? Did I tell you that I've changed allegiances as far as baseball teams?
No,
I'm an Orioles fan officially. So
all right,
yeah. So I something to root for here in Baltimore, but I do love when the Ravens are good too. But I love anytime those guys do it. But the only story that I really give a shit about, and it's We talked about it on draft night. But goddamn Atlanta. It is the most interesting thing that has happened, I think, in years. I think in draft years. It might be the most interesting thing that's happened. Oh my God.
Can I tell you? So obviously,
and you hate Kirk, so you love this shit.
So listen. I love Michael Penix. I love Michael Penix. Yeah. And Kirk and him, to me, are very different quarterbacks. One is maximizing his abilities, but I think has a known ceiling. The other, to me, has it. And I'm curious to see if Atlanta's able to develop that. It's a very interesting situation. So, of course, I rewatched some of our live stream, which I thought was awesome. And again, K-Dot, awesome job on it. Had a lot of guests, and shout out to all the guests. Appreciate it. It was a blast hanging out with all of you and to those commenting. Absolutely. And then I watched ESPN's reaction to the pick, but NFL Network's reaction to the pick was amazing. So before, they would actually sort of tip the pick. Like they would go to Ian Rappaport and be for a couple of them and say, hey, what do you think is going to happen over here? And he goes, guys, stay with me on this one. The Atlanta Falcons are considering Michael Penix. Like even he can't believe it as he's saying it. And he's like, yes, some things came out a few hours ago. Looks like there are some likes to it. And it looks like they are seriously considering this. Fast forward a little bit, Rich Eisen goes, oh boy, he's like, Goodell's about to come out of here and announce a pick. And then Charles Davis goes, they're not seriously going to do this, are they? Like, that's literally the last thing that's said. And then they go, Michael Penix. And they instantly go, that is the most interesting thing I've seen in years, to your point. The most interesting thing I've seen in years. I think we attempted to rationalize it when we were on the live stream. Like, okay, this is smart. They're essentially buying the Green Bay model. Maybe they do. Who knows? But at the very least, it's intriguing. It is very intriguing.
I'll tell you this. I love the pick. I adore the pick. I adore the balls it takes to do it too.
Oh,
here's what I don't have. Here's the issues with it though. Because there are some major fucking flaws with the pick. Number one, Penix was always gonna be there. Like he was never not gonna be there.
They must have seen District Divided and seen me rank him at 2.
But the idea that they pan to the war room and they're trying to explain to Arthur Blank what the fuck just happened. How did you not prep him if this was what you were gonna do? Like if you knew this was what you were gonna do, Penix was going to be on the board. No one was doing what it is they did. No one was gonna do what they did.
Yeah.
They were on the board. And then the Kirk Cousins part of this, which is I'm a Kirk guy. I feel terrible for Kirk. So I know. See, he already really fucking has it. Here's what I say: Kirk Cousins gets drafted into the league, right?
Mm-hmm.
Second fiddle to RG3. The fact. So he's always somebody else. Nobody really wants me. Okay.
Yeah.
When he gets the starting job, I know you remember this. There was a cult of Colt. Everyone preferred Colt McCoy, even when Kirk Cousins was starting. So like, and then he goes to the team. I'd like a long-term contract. Like, it's just this dude. He barely does anything wrong.
Shout out our front office for that one. They were right. Please continue.
But the Kirk thing, even with quarterback, I look at him as a great guy. I don't consider him a great locker room leader. I never considered him that. He's not charismatic in that way. Colt McCoy, if you listen to Jay Gruden was even talking about it with Colt McCoy, if you can check the video on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, you know, Kirk could be a little sensitive about things.
I'm being Colt McCoy right now.
But it's because everyone in the locker room loved Colt more than they loved Kirk. Like, that was a fact, and it was happening in Washington. He goes to Minnesota. Stephon Diggs wants to stab him in the face. And then he finally puts together the best season of his career, and he gets fucking injured. Goes to Atlanta. The Falcons tell him, hey, in the next couple of years, probably going to draft a quarterback. You know, you're getting up in age. We're going to do this, that, and the other. He's like, all right, cool. Then he's sitting at home watching the NFL draft. The Atlanta Falcons come on the clock, and his phone rings.
You know he was at the draft party beforehand?
Yeah, because he was doing press. His phone rings. Hello? We're going to go with Penix. What? We're doing what? Like, what? What? You haven't even seen me play. Like, what do you do? What? Like, then, I'm sorry, he's in Atlanta. That's not going to cause a race war. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like, fucking Kirk. That's fucking Penix.
Penix,
The
that
entire
dude.
coaching staff fucking loves him. Yeah, that's gonna go great. It's just like I love fundamentally because of what I've talked about quarterbacks. I want more teams to draft quarterbacks. If you got a guy you love, you do it.
Right.
The problem, it seems as though they did absolutely no planning around doing.
Okay, so on that note, I just want to quickly say I do not feel bad for Kirk Cousins, and I think Nick Wright on First Things First made an excellent point about this. If you are willing to be a mercenary on the business side of things, going, I want to retire a Redskin at the time, I want to retire a Viking, I want to retire a Falcon. He does this everywhere he goes. He gets the best bid every single time. Then, if the business side comes for you, as violent as it may look or unfair as it may look, it's what you signed up for. So I don't feel bad for the guy making $100
That's a
million
little
guaranteed.
revisionist history. It's a little revisionist history.
$100 million guaranteed. He'll be okay.
Yeah, I get it. But Washington, he wanted a long-term deal. We're fucking stupid that we
No, but then he wouldn't sign one because then we would offer one and he wouldn't take it.
Because it was below what it is that what he deserved at that point.
I would say we gave him exactly what he deserved.
And it was after we had already franchise tagged him. It's like we franchise tagged him. He's like,
Twice.
I proved it. Right.
Twice.
He's like, I proved it, motherfuckers. Like, sign me. Like, at that point.
No, I think after the second one, he was like, I'm leaving.
I'm fucking done. Like, what are you guys doing? All I wanted was a fucking guarantee.
Anyway. But that is the interesting dynamic because I don't think so. Obviously they signed Kirk to that 4-year, $180 million deal, $100 million guaranteed. I know this says around the league. It's basically just the Penix conversation with Kirk Cousins. I don't think Atlanta had any intention of drafting a quarterback. They happened to be at the combine just like everybody else. And they saw that when Michael Penix throws the ball, it comes out different. There's a little whistle to it. There's a little pop to it. Oh boy, we should look into this. All of a sudden, they're at his pro day. Why are the Atlanta Falcons at Michael Penix's pro day? Oh, second round day. Maybe they draft him there. Because if they draft him in the second round, it's nothing. Thank you. It's nothing. It's not nearly as big a deal, right? Second round, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, he sits for a couple years. It's totally justifiable. Pick 8 is a totally different conversation, at least from the optics perspective.
I just think the planning was poor. If this is a decision that like they came to and like, this is the one that we're going to do it. But it reeked of like only 2 guys knew what they were going to do. And they ran up to make the pick without telling anybody else about what it is they were doing. Like, it feels like that. If this is what you wanted to do, if Penix is your guy and you're like, he is going to be the next quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons, we're going to see where Kirk takes us for the next 2 seasons. And he's going to learn and do everything he needs to do. And we're going to develop him and he'll be ready and we won't miss a beat. We might even upgrade. Like you're planning for the Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes turnover.
That doesn't even make sense because free agency was after the combine. So, well, I was thinking maybe they saw the combine, but had already signed Kirk. But that doesn't make sense because it happened before.
I said this on the draft show. I had heard before the draft, I had heard multiple times that the Falcons loved Penix. I heard that they met with him. I don't know if it was at the pro day or whatever, but
he wasn't a top 30 visit.
No, they met with it. Wasn't they didn't even bring him in. When they flew out
because they knew it was wrong.
They flew out to a pro day. I don't think it was a combine. I think it was a pro day. And I had heard, and I wish I could source where I heard it from, but I know I had heard that Raheem Morris had fallen in love with Penix. And when I heard that, I thought Penix top of the second round, there's a possibility there.
Right.
And I think Kirk would have even been like, yeah, you guys told me. Yeah,
second rounder. That makes sense. Yeah.
It's whatever.
Good value at that point for a quarterback that good. Yeah.
But when the run and stuff happened, now here's the thing. The only other thing that this might be a possibility, they're never going to say this because they don't want to piss off Penix, is did they hear enough? Because, I mean, if Bo Nix came off the fucking board as early as he did Atlanta just say, we can't wait? Like maybe it wasn't.
They couldn't find a trade down partner.
Right. Like
I think
maybe
that's
the
part
plan
of it.
Was that they were going to move down. But like the same way with us, we wanted to move up to go get a tackle, but nothing made sense.
Right.
It would have been too much. And you saw that run that happened on the quarterbacks. There's a very good chance Penix gets selected before Bo Nix is supposed to come off the fucking board. Like that, you'd think that, right? So if they love him, I've been very firm with, if you love your dude, go get your guy.
Yep.
So
Oh,
maybe
they
they
did.
panicked, but it just felt as though they did not plan and they were scrambling with the
I
clock
mean,
on.
they gave us fireworks. Our reaction was also hilarious.
It was
Just like
silly.
waiting for you to see it, waiting for Bernal to see it at the time. His jaw drops. I got the salt plate glasses on. I'm just, you guys are going to see something pretty cool. Like it was absolutely nuts. Any other thoughts before we move on to the comment mailbag?
No, I'm draft. Yeah, glad it's over. I just if you're still salty about the quarterback thing, get the fuck over it.
There you go. It's
Yeah,
time to unite. We had our fun, like, you know, and I want to be clear, I would have admitted to this too. Okay. We had our fun, and I think a lot of the fans are aware enough to know. You had your favorite, we had our fun, but ultimately we were going to be behind the guy. I have seen a handful of you, maybe not you specifically, but you, the other person, not get behind Jayden Daniels. That doesn't help. Like, this is now the moment to get behind the new franchise quarterback. Go ahead.
I did hear something and it made me like fall in love with our front office again, which is when they didn't invite Jayden to come to do the fan thing or whatever, to do like the jersey.
Oh, to not put pressure on him
They
as the
did
savior.
not want him
I
to look like
love
savior.
that.
That to me was like, we've got true fucking professionals that know what they're doing. And Jayden's in the right hands.
And it gives me hope that we won't start him day one.
I'm not going that far, but
it gives me hope. That's all I'm saying. I'm not predicting it. I'm not predicting it, but it gives me hope that maybe, just maybe, they recognize we don't need to rush this.
Here's what I'll say. They're not going to start Daniels day one unless they honestly think it's for the best of his development and they think it's for the best of the team.
I think they're going to prioritize his development first. That's what I'm thinking. So if they feel it's going to be him starting day one, fine. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Like, you know, please, that offensive line be good.
It won't be a situation where they're trying to save their ass. We won't see that. Like, I think this will be a very calculated decision, whatever it is they decide to do.
And we can, after the pod, talk more about Adam Peters. And, dude, he was so happy in that press conference once it was finally over and he could reveal how they felt and what happened. And that was cool. That was almost like the end of reading the end of a novel or like a mystery and going, okay, cool, let's walk through what happened. That was kind of fun.
Nice.
So we'll do that in a moment. But let's
if you
go
believe anything he was saying. Yeah, that's nice.
That is also true, which is why we're going to talk about it after the pod. So let's go over to the comment mailbag where we have a handful of comments. I think about, I want to say 7 or 8 total. We had a lot during the live stream, of course. So we greatly appreciate those. We will begin first with the, you know what would be more fun? Let's go ahead and do the live stream where we have 2 comments. And then we'll go back in time to see what people said, because I don't even remember what the comments are there on the final mock draft one. So let's go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and begin with Doug Fur 5217. Shout out Doug Fur. No issue with JD at 2, Jayden Daniels, but not trading up to get a cornerstone offensive tackle after weeks of being told aggressively trade up from admin is horrid. Unless we traded for Ayuk, admin failed the first round. They put their name on the test, but it did not answer a single question. Grade so far, F. D- at best. I'd rather overpay for a solid offensive tackle than overpay for 4th tier. So, Doug, for very clearly going, hey, I really wanted an offensive tackle. I was told that we were going to be aggressive in our trade up plans. We did not trade up. I am now nervous about our offensive line. And I think a lot of fans can relate to that. K-Dot, what do you make of the comment?
I think we addressed it for the most part in the sense of like, they did try to move up, but what the cost would have been to do so when you see that run that happened on those tackles, I'm not willing to pay if it costs me this much talent that I'm looking at that we ended up walking away with. Because the only players that we start looking at, they're like, okay, they could are your 7th rounder, like, and nobody's accepting that to fucking move up, or you're gonna mortgage your entire future on doing so. Which, you know what, I don't think I'm in the cards of wanting to do so, especially when, once again, yes, the offensive line did not play up to snuff last year, but we have to be honest with ourselves as far as what made it look as bad as it did. And then if there's anybody, like, all right, if it was Drake May that we selected, I'd be more terrified. than we are with a Jayden Daniels, who can actually do some things to protect himself to some degree. He's going to be able to offset some of the things of the offensive tackles. Because the thing is, Jayden's one thing above all else is he's pretty set in the pocket. Does he like to take off more than he needs to? Yes. But what he doesn't do is drift in the pocket.
Right.
He's not lost in the sauce in the pocket. Drake May will walk into a sack because he'll go out on the outside of the tackles all the fucking time. Jayden won't do that. So as long as he understands or has pocket awareness, we already have an upgrade because Sam Howell didn't have it.
Right. That's a good point. Just real quick on trading for Ayuk, there is some smoke there, probably still. That would involve future draft capital at this point. So I don't know that that's going to happen. I'm also glad that it won't happen right now. I'm all for making Jayden Daniels comfortable, and he has a really tight relationship with Ayuk and stuff like that. But you also don't want him to run things from day one. So I wouldn't do it just to appease him. And again, I've always had the sort of the 3,000 foot view, if you will, the macro view of, I don't want to pay a wide receiver 25 million plus right now. Next offseason, sure. Once we have our culture established, stuff like that, and you feel good about the direction, make those swings. I'm totally fine with that. But this offseason, no. So he had said, unless we're trading for Ayuk, we didn't address the offensive line in the first round F. So I just wanted to mention that part.
The Ayuk thing quickly is, if I was running the team, I'm in line with you that I want to commit that. But I will say this: if they did it, I am not. You will not hear a negative comment out of me, because putting Ayuk on this team with that wide receiving core we have right now,
it's exciting. I would be excited, just to be clear, but
yeah,
I wouldn't necessarily think it's the correct move. But we'll see.
Right, we wouldn't do it for ourselves, but if it happens, I'm not gonna. Okay,
I'm not gonna pretend to be like, oh no, Brandon Ayuk, he's a baller. Right. I mean, there's a reason Jayden loves him. We go over to Jess Anto. Shout out, Jess Anto, and thanks for joining us on the live stream. Jess, really appreciate that. I'm happy with the Daniels pick and what Peters said about it. Loved when Daniels went off the stage to hang out with the fans. That really showed me a lot about him. My concern with left tackle is really growing after the first round ended. This is the reason I wanted Tyron Smith. With Tyron Smith and Cornelius Lucas, we would have had a ton of flexibility in this draft, which I do believe we exercised for the most part. That's me saying that last part. Unless Quinn knew something that the rest of us didn't, it would have made a ton of sense. They might have to draft a bunch of them now, and we did draft Brandon Coleman. It's the only offensive lineman we drafted, by the way. That's, again, round 3, pick 67. And have a battle royale to see who rises to the top. And so there will be no battle royale amongst many draftees that are on the offensive line because, again, it was just Brandon Coleman. Offensive guard tackle combo out of TCU provides some versatility along the offensive line. We'll see how it pans out. Adam Peters said that he views him more as a tackle than a guard. Listening to different people, draft experts, they don't know if he's going to be a very good tackle in the league, if at all. Maybe just a guard. This is where in Adam Peters we trust. Let's see how it pans out. K-Dot, your thoughts?
Like 3 or 4 episodes ago, I said something on the pod that nobody reacted to in the comments, and you didn't react to it either, I don't think. And I wanted to kind of just gloss over because I didn't really want to have to defend myself. But I did allude to the fact that I thought that they fixed the offensive line enough for me going into the season. And here's the thing. If anybody wants to play back what I said before the beginning of last season, I said the same thing. So I'm stand pat that I could be wrong about all this. But I do think that I put a lot of stock on what was happening with the play calling and Sam Howell's issues, which if you look from college all the way through was a through line as far as his being a sack magnet. I think that had a lot more to do with anything.
So let's dive into that for a moment, just so that I make sure your message is crystal clear. And this is for me as well. Okay. That you believe our offensive line is better than the general fan base thinks. And a lot of that is due to you feeling that the poor play calling from Eric Bieniemy and potentially Sam Howell also holding the ball too long made the offensive line look worse than it actually was. Is that fair to say?
Yes. I could go further, but yes.
Okay. Okay, got it. And I think there's some prudence to that because, again, when Jacoby Brissett came in, offense was humming. We had conversations around that too. The offense looked very good.
Look, if you don't run the football and everybody gets to pin their ears back because there's no threat of you running the football, or when you do run the football, it's pretty fucking obvious you're going to run the football. What does that do for an offensive line?
Man, I cannot wait to run the football this year. I know we got the shiny new toy, Jayden Daniels and stuff like that. But
I like the undrafted running back, Michael Wiley out of Arizona. You want to have some fun? Go look at his tape.
Okay. Oh, I do. I will definitely check out the tape over there. We got Brian Robinson, of course, and Austin Eckler. Let's go ahead and see how this turns out. Now we go to the final 2024 NFL mock draft episode, and let's go ahead and see what people said over there, beginning with Locked On Law. Shout out Locked On Law. I'll be glad when all these lame-ass mock drafts are over. They're all biased based upon who the person drafting personally likes. I would have to agree with that, because when we went double tight end, we loved both of them. Jatavion Sanders and Ben Sinnott. K-Dot, what do you make of that?
I liked Ben more. Remember, I was...
Yes, you...
So,
yep. We had to have him, K-Dot.
Well, that was the thing. It was like, I was saying, based on what you're, like, the top 30, okay, let's go Sanders, because we thought it probably would be Sanders. But I wasn't complaining because I got Ben. So, like, I was happy. We got Ben, so I'm happy with Ben. But, yeah, mock drafts are stupid.
I would agree with that as well. Though it does give us a general sense of where players may go. And so that does help inform us for the actual.
Doesn't help anybody.
You don't think so?
Nope.
All right, we'll tell Ben Robinson that next time. We go over to Tony.
No, I'm not saying that there is not. It's the same. Like, quickly, when I was in high school, I did a report on global warming.
Okay.
My take on it was I didn't care if global warming was true or not. There's a lot of money to be made. So, like,
oh my gosh,
it's like I don't.
This
give
is
a
so
shit.
on brand for you. Yeah. Okay.
Like,
yeah. 100%.
Right, you could be like the United States could be the leader in the world in solar panels and fucking batteries. Then what do we decide to do? Now we're gonna punt. Now look at China, you fucking assholes. Like so Ben, there is an industry that's not dying around this, and it pays to be good at doing it. Overall, I think it's bad for the world.
All right, cool. We go over to Tony. Shout out, Tony. Thanks for the mock. Oh, and Tony, thank you also for joining us during the live stream. Thanks for the mock. I think the back-to-back tight end selections wasn't necessary with Ertz, Rodgers, and Turner already on the roster, but it is what it is. That's exactly right, Tony. It is what it is. I would have taken linebacker, corner, or safety, which I think is exactly what K-Dot was saying. Also, any thoughts on Trey Benson? I love his game, and I would love to see him added to our roster. K-Dot, any thoughts on Trey Benson, who is not with us? I don't remember where he got drafted, actually.
He ain't here, so fuck him.
And those are the thoughts from K-Dot on Trey Benson. Apologies, Tony. I am also not familiar enough with Trey Benson to have like proper thoughts on it. So
unless he's like a family member or something, I take that back. I meant more in like the football sense.
The football sense. Yeah. Okay. From the football sense, go fuck that guy. Anyway, we go over to user SC4EH7EI3W. Shout out. Double tight end. And it's the mouth gaping emoji and then the crying laughing emoji. I think I really enjoyed recognizing that we were having some fun with the mock draft, because that's what that was. We wouldn't actually go double tight end. I just decided to go rogue, which was a good time. And it did grow on K-Dot, just to be clear. We go over to Vindo. Oh, gee. Shout out. Vindo. Bruh. Wilson is a dog. No way he's there at 40. Best linebacker in the draft. I'm thinking they're taking Cam Hart in the 3rd round. I love reading these after the draft. Another player who could be a late bloomer in Ike, the 5th or 6th round, is Jamari Thrash. He is tough. Jamari Thrash and, who was it? Went back to back. Shit, who was it? It was a notable name. It was another, not Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I can't remember who it was. This is going to bother me.
Trotter going to Philly was a motherfucker.
Yeah, it made so much sense too. Gosh. K-Dot?
I was trying to figure out if I could figure out who
the Jamari Thrash thing.
Yeah, it was Trotter.
It was Trotter? Okay, so it was back to back. Yeah. I remember that. What do you make of the comment from Vindo?
Is he related to James Thrash? No.
That was one of my questions. I want him to be, but I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it.
Because it'd be cool. Because then you get Jeremiah Trotter Jr., you get James Thrash's, like, let's say, kid or nephew or something like that. I don't know.
I was sort of out of the idea was hope that they would pick a linebacker up sooner than they did. I will say I looked at the tape of our new guy, Mr. Jordan Magee or Magee. How do you say his last name? Magee or Maggie?
I believe it's Magee.
Okay.
That's what I'd heard from the many different places. I try and get pronunciations right. We try and get pronunciations right. I've heard Magee
that way, and it's Maggie, but all right, whatever.
Maggie. I apologize if it is.
Yeah,
for multiple reasons. Go ahead.
I like him, and I like the way he could potentially fit within the defense. Because I'm not sure exactly what it is, the defense, but some of the pieces are lining up in my head at least. But yeah, I mean, my energy is, man, if you ain't here, fuck off. Unless your name is Xavier Legette, who has already become one of my top 3 favorite players in the
He's
NFL.
awesome. Did you see the intro presser for Keon Coleman with Buffalo with the jacket? How cool was that?
Guess where I got this from? You're never going to know. Yeah. What? Macy's, man. I need to go back.
Now you got to go in the summer. Right? That's when I go. No, you can't go Thanksgiving. It's too late. Dude, he was a delight, an absolute delight with that intro press conference. That was so cool. I really, it was very, it felt very honest, heartfelt. I loved it.
These guys aren't jaded or anything yet. They're just there and they're eager to be there, which is always like. But Xavier Legette, I've never seen a man more suited for the place that drafted him. I just wish Carolina wasn't a fucking dumpster fire. Oh, David Tepper. I am convinced David Tepper's just Dan Snyder like a costume to get back in the league.
Well, welcome to the rest of consensus opinion. God. Yeah, he's nuts. And then we go over to Blood Clot. Shout out Blood Clot. And thank you also for being a part of the live stream. And if any of you other commenters were part of the live stream and I did not shout you out, I apologize. These are just the ones that immediately come to mind for me. That is all. So shout out Blood Clot. It was just wishful thinking for that Caleb scenario where we were basically, there would be the idea of Caleb falling to 2 or somebody trading up for Jayden at 1, knowing that we want him. But you're right. Bears need a QB, and that's Caleb, which ended up happening. It's okay. I'd be so happy with Jayden. See you guys on draft day. And he did see us on draft day, and we did get Jayden Daniels. And this was the show. This was District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening today. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. If you enjoyed today's episode, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, and K-Dot.
I mean, you should have done it already. If you didn't do it already, slap yourself and then share this shit.
Share this shit. We greatly appreciate you guys as always. After the pod begins right now. That was pretty fucking good. I gotta give you that. That was good. I tried to trip you up with the mouth open for a moment to see if you jumped the gun, but no. You did not.
I was a little. I'm getting it. I felt like I got smoother as time went on, but I just got to remember where things are.
I mean, you're smooth, baby.
But I did feel like draft night by the end of the night. It felt like everything was second nature.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, it really felt seamless. Like that's how well you did it.
Thank you.
It was a really fun time. Now, this is a new After the Pod look for those that are familiar with After the Pod. We normally have the black and white. This is, again, a new software. We're learning about it. If we could do black and white, maybe we will. Maybe we won't. Let us know what you think about, this background with the, the black and the Adam Peters press conference after Jayden Daniels. I figured you and I would both be very interested in it just because of all the back and forths we had. I wanted your thoughts on it.
How honest do you want me to be?
Very honest.
I didn't watch it. I refuse to watch it. All right. Look.
No, come on.
Hang on. I'm not one of these assholes. All right. Number one, as we said on the draft, I think everybody's of the idea and understands that I did have a favorite guy. That being said, I am so fucking happy for where my favorite guy ended up that I'm glad you're not here, bud. Okay. So I'm super glad you're not here.
Yeah.
I love Jayden Daniels, but I also know that there was a lot of stuff that I know I need to weed through and whatever, but I know that I saw the Commanders social media team has been doing a really good job as far as posting certain clips and videos of the phone calls and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Once I saw the excitement on Adam Peters' face, which isn't too far removed from that fucking grin I've said that he's had ever since he walked off that plane in the snow. I also know that post-draft, I don't necessarily believe anything I'm going to hear anyway.
Okay. That's fair.
They're going to talk about how all these guys are their favorite guy this and their favorite guy that and this, that, and the other.
Classic. Yeah.
Because especially after what it is we saw in the final days of the Jayden Daniels thing, right? Which is what the criticism that people had as far as like the Top Golf thing was. And the reason I thought that if I was Jayden Daniels, I could understand being upset is that if I'm your favorite guy, why the fuck are you going through these motions? Just make me your guy so we can start working on developing this relationship, right?
Right.
Why would Adam Peters say anything to the contrary of that? You know, so I'm so like, I don't think he's a liar, but I think sometimes with a job you have, if you're going to do good at it, there's some people it doesn't matter if you lie to them.
Or embellish, let's say.
Or embellish. Yeah, there's some of that. Do I think that they had a draft board and Jayden Daniels was on the top of that draft board since they had it and it didn't change? I can believe that 100%. Do I believe that JJ McCarthy was pretty fucking close? Yeah. I think it was really fucking close. And I think that they made the decision. I think that they are, what he always goes back to is they are process driven. And
yes.
Have you ever heard of Lean Six Sigma?
Yes.
So I'm a black belt in Lean Six Sigma.
Okay.
Thank you, Geico, for paying for something that would usually cost tens of thousands of dollars for me to get.
Shout out Geico.
Fuck them. But but I got my Lean Six Sigma certification, right? So like Lean Six Sigma is looking at every single process. You figure out how to whittle it down, this, that, and the other, right? But when you understand and you realize more than anything, process is everything. It's everything. Within that process, you leave room to move, to be able to do this, to do that, if you have a good process, right? But you have to trust it. It's not deviating from it. It's leaving the process with enough room that you can move when the information changes, but you stick to your process. You saw it in the coaching search.
Yep.
We're not rushing for you. Fuck you. Like we're not making any decision before we go through and do everything that we need to do.
Right.
I don't give a shit. The Jayden Daniels thing, because he was top of their board. If he wasn't, maybe they say, man, fuck you and the agent or whoever else. We don't give a shit. This is our process, right? But because he's at the top, they're like, yo, he's clearly the guy that we want. He checks all the boxes. He's number one when we go through all these processes. We need to make sure this relationship is as ironclad as it possibly can be. And I'm cool with it. I just don't think I'm going to learn a ton. That's all.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, because I was also going through the exercise of like, if JJ were the pick, would he say the same things?
Yes.
And I think he probably would.
Yeah.
Right. I think he probably would. Now, that being said, he said so much of the stuff that I believed that I loved it. Absolutely loved
Confirmation bias.
I told you. I told you.
No,
I
get it.
For it.
If you were right.
It was incredible. Oh my gosh. When he was like, oh, you know, why Jayden, why not Jayden? And then just began, I was just like, oh man, this sounds so cool. It felt like a head and shoulders thing, but I agree with you. I just wanted to say that. So this was partially to be like, K-Dot, he said the things I was saying, and also to go, yes, I also agree that he would go and say those things regardless of who it was. So wanted to mention both things there.
I'll tell you this. I think if it was JJ McCarthy, it would have been bad for this podcast.
You think so?
Yeah. I think it would have been bad for this podcast. But
what makes you say that?
Because I think that what it means is that me and you can have so varying different degrees of looking at a particular thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think either of us necessarily were entirely too wrong about it. All the way through the offseason. But I think that what it does come down to is that with the combination of our strengths, I think we are sort of like what we hope that Commander's front office is like.
Yes, that is true.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I think that us being able to talk through these things and to try to come up with what the answers are, I once again, when we did our rankings, who was my number 2?
I'm trying to remember. It was Jayden Daniels.
It was Jayden Daniels.
Yeah.
So like,
Caleb,
I might
Jayden
have
2,
a favorite guy here, right?
Right.
But nothing that you said about Jayden was incorrect. And you're right. And at the end of the day, if we trust on those processes, if we can hold each other accountable to what those processes are, we can come with a real good solution. Like what that speaks to me is that the conversations that me and you have on this pod
Yeah.
are elevated so much beyond what I'm seeing in fucking YouTube comments that aren't our videos.
I completely agree with
Twitter
that, by the way. I've
videos.
looked around.
Right.
I have looked around. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I like this for us. If it was JJ McCarthy, I'd be ecstatic, but I could probably admit to you it wasn't the right decision. It wasn't trusting the process all the way through. Remember, I like JJ because I like the intangibles more than anything.
Correct.
I weigh them heavier.
Yes.
It does not mean he's a better player.
No, and that's fine. But then we talk about, the culture and maybe having that guy, that charismatic, more extroverted sort of deal. And Topgolf maybe would have shown that, for
I
example.
think it probably did.
Probably. And so that's what made me think that, like, let's say we both projected it out to be that way, that despite Topgolf, it was still Jayden. It was sort of like, that sort of head. That's where the head and shoulders thing was for me.
No. That's the thing is, like, if it was close, then even if JJ did perform out the ass at Topgolf and do everything he wanted to do, they could still see enough from Jayden that day or that weekend to say, yeah, he's still in it. Which is what we talked about that, right? It was like, I always thought it was close all the way through. I think that I would lean towards you and say that because Jayden's the pick, it was a little less close than I thought.
Sure. Yeah, I think we split the difference there. Yeah. That it wasn't. Adam said that Jayden, they were pretty clear on it being Jayden, but he didn't, to be fair, ever say how close it was. Right. That was never mentioned. I think he said it was pretty clear, but that can mean anything. Again, we're talking about an NFL GM who just finished making the biggest pick of his life to date in that moment, right? Of course, he's going to, glow about it and be excited about it and stuff like that. The one thing that was interesting to me, and I'm curious if you saw this, Albert Breer, I think it was Albert Breer, and I apologize if it wasn't. And then combining it with that Capital Paparazzi account. Did you see that? Like the person who, oh, you didn't. Okay. So, but you heard that like Jayden was picked up. So like everybody got to Dulles and like someone was like, okay, I saw that Dan Quinn picked up Jayden. And that actually does line up with, there was some report, I think it was Albert, who said that Jayden Daniels met with Josh Harris. The others, I don't believe did. I wonder if that was like, if that's true, if that's all true. We're unwrapping the mystery here, you and me. If that's true, would it have been before? So like, let's say Dan picked him up. Like, let's story time this, if you will, storyboard this. If Dan picked him up, was the very first thing to go to Josh before Topgolf, or were we talking about a different time?
So those are the things that we'll never know for sure.
Right.
So like, that's the thing. If he pulls out a press conference is like, this is the timeline of how everything worked.
I would love a timeline. I guess I would love a timeline, but we're not going to get it.
I'd love to know who was Dan Quinn's top pick, who was Cliff Kingsbury's top pick, who was Brian Johnson's top pick, who was Anthony Lynn's top pick, right? Yeah. I would love all that shit. It serves no purpose other than to feed our fucking want and desire.
It's true.
Know more.
To just know. Just know. Yeah.
Here's the thing. If we ever were to find out definitely any of the answers to any of these things, I think less about this administration. And now, I think
because you do love how buttoned up it is.
I love it. I do
too. And all the smoke around here, we started, a lot of the fan base started going nuts. Dude, we're used to knowing what happened. We don't know. Even me, just 5 minutes before the pick, and you're like, relax, it's Jayden. And I was like, I don't know, because we just went through the fact that these odds are based on smoke. National media smoke, maybe some local media smoke as well, but they don't know, and they've admitted that. So, like, to your point.
One of the most telling things was John Time having the reporters on, which we talked about.
Yep.
When you could hear there was a slight frustration in all of them. We don't know. We don't know. Like, these are the dudes. Like, I will go to bat and saying, where we're at. We're in Washington, D.C. The journalists here are cut above most places. Journalism still means something here compared to most other fucking places. You look at the people that start here to go on to have national careers, this in all sorts of walks of life.
We got
here
ballers over here in the
We got some damn good journalists here in Washington, and they don't know shit. They can't leverage any relationships. They can't leverage anything because this is a new crop and a new group. And I love that. I love that there is buttoned up here. I love that we don't know. I love that part of my thought process was too many people were talking about Jayden, so it might not be Jayden. I love that shit. This is the stuff that I want. I don't need fucking leaks to fucking papers and shit to try to get this. It was the same. I used to fight so hardcore after the Ben Johnson thing. When you had some people in the media were kind of like telling the Commanders were being petty or something. I'm like, how are you reading it that way? The Commanders are just refusing to say anything.
Yeah.
This is all coming from somebody else. No one has heard mums the fucking word from us on anything. And they're not relenting on that. And that to me is the shit. It's the shit. Like it's all football related.
Mm-hmm.
And they're keeping it in house.
And we gotta shout out the front office for that. And Adam Peters does, because they say, hey, how did you guys do it? Right? Not tip this pick to anybody. And he goes, well, that is a testament to everybody in that building. We are all bought in on one vision. We've talked about aligned vision all the time. And that's what they did. So props to them.
You know what else it looks at? I remember hearing a lot of people complaining about the people that were still there from the last administration.
True.
They're still here now. We haven't heard anything, which means either they picked the right guys to keep or they're bought into the new regime.
Both are good. Both are good. Man, it really is a new era. I'm curious to see how we attack post-draft free agency. If we do, I don't know. We'll find out. I have no idea. Like, I honestly do feel okay with the offensive line. Why? Okay. We're gonna end on this. One more for the comment mailbag. This is Mandeep Singh. My father. Hey, hey, hey. 3 exclamation points. We love and appreciate. I certainly love and appreciate you, Dad and Mom. Both watched the live stream.
Right.
He writes again with the celebration and wink emoji as well. Just hey, shout out to my parents. They watched it for 2 hours, kid. They were at dinner and decided to watch at 7:45. They don't know shit about these NFL draft prospects, but they found it so entertaining that they stuck around for a full 2 hours.
There's not a person in the world that loves me enough to do that, unless they were already Commanders fans.
So just quick shout out to the parents who and my sister who also texted during the.
That's love right there, man.
It is.
That's good.
It is. Awesome. Yeah, that was it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me. So love you guys. We will see you Friday 2 p.m. as we always do. So until then, take it easy. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.